got a great show today that I'm really excited about. Have a return guest in studio with me, Pastor Kenneth Mulkey of Cottonwood Church. Yay!
Yes.
And this is a gentleman extraordinaire. Pastor Kenneth, you have been a pastor at Cottonwood for how long?
Been on staff now, going in my 23rd year.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? We were both mere children when we met each other. Yes. And you have been married to your beautiful, lovely wife, who happens to be named Angel.
Yes.
For how long?
33 years.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing? And then you're dad to 3 beautiful daughters.
Yes. Janae, Brianna, and Destiny.
Isn't that, what beautiful names?
Yeah.
Just beautiful names.
Yeah.
And they're no longer little ones. I remember when they were running around.
Yeah.
Skipping and...
Yeah, they've grown.
They're grown women.
Yeah. And they still live off the fat of the land.
And then something that a lot of people don't know about you, but those of us who've known you for a long time, you have a really nice singing voice. And I've seen you a few times in Cottonwood when we've had fun talent shows or something at the church. You surprised all of us and came out in a top hat and a cane and a tux, and you were soft shoeing and singing away, and we thought, Frank Sinatra is in the house, you know. So that was great fun. I remember that very dearly. That was a really delightful surprise. So, and then you also, something I appreciate so much about you, my sweet husband Paul, when you come up to the platform, he always goes, "Oh, good, I really like him."
Tell Paul I'll pay him later.
That's right. Well, your teaching style, every pastor at Cottonwood is amazing. We're so blessed to have them all. Yeah. Really, really extraordinary pastors. But your style is very high energy, and you have a really fun, slightly off-the-wall sense of humor, which I totally relate to.
Okay.
And you incorporate everything, and your delivery is so energetic and passionate and just really, really fun. And I think the way you present things, it makes the messages stick.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
That's great. Thank you.
And then also, the list is long, ladies and gentlemen, of this man's accomplishments. You were head of Cottonwood Leadership College for how long?
Close to 15 years.
That's remarkable. Yeah. It's such a good school. I went through that, graduated in 95. So, and then you travel, speaking, teaching, and ministering.
Yes.
And you have a heart, and what we're going to be talking about, you've written a second book called Helping Others Win, and then 10 Keys to Effective Mentoring. And this is part of a trilogy, which is pretty dazzling.
Yeah.
So you wrote, your first book was called
Run to Win, Finding Your Lane and Finishing.
Yeah, and that's excellent. I highly recommend that book if you want to figure out, where do I fit in God's plan? What is His plan for my life? How do I direct and aim myself? How do I learn to hear from God? How do I recognize my giftings? It's a great book. So say the title of that one again.
Run to Win, Finding Your Lane and Finishing.
Yeah, it's excellent. And then now you have Helping Others Win, 10 Keys to Effective Mentoring, because you have a real call on your life and a real zeal about mentoring people.
I do.
Which is wonderful. I wish we could push a button and create thousands of you and that heart, because it's so needed.
Yeah.
We were talking about that at length, that it's young people need it, young women need it, young men need it, teenagers need it, and we were even saying middle-aged people need it.
So true.
Yeah. And how many of you out there have actually ever had the privilege of having someone mentor you? I haven't. I know I've learned by observing quality people and trying to glean what I could, but to have someone invest the time, what a privilege.
Yeah, it's a wonderful privilege. I'm so high on it because I've had mentors in my life, and I love mentoring people. It just seems like the natural byproduct of receiving, and then you get to give. And I just think so many people are rich beyond their own awareness, and they may think I don't have anything that someone would want. They may see their life as something that's been riddled with bad decisions or mistakes, and yet, hey, we can raise two hands and some feet for that one.
Yeah.
But even in that, there's learning, and there's opportunity to help someone else maybe miss some of the potholes that you stepped in.
Oh, I like the way you said that. Miss some of the potholes. Because there are people who think, well, you can't tell me anything because you failed at this or that. Mm-hmm. Many times that's the person who can tell you about that, because they can tell you about the mistakes they made, or the timing of choices, or poor choices, or what not to do. So actually, instead of dismissing somebody because they failed at something, you can glean from and learn from their mistakes. So why reinvent the wheel and do the same mistakes yourself when you can learn and be a step ahead?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think, Jackie, that if a person understood the heart of a parent, they would understand mentoring. Because the heart of every parent is just to simply make a better life for their kids, better than the life they had. And mentoring is just that. You want someone to be able to go farther than you've gone.
Yes.
And do more than you've done. And so, it takes a bit of security to be able to do that. Because sometimes we want to make sure we stay on top and everybody knows our name. But the fact of the matter is that you become more valuable when you help other people realize their value. And you can help bring that out.
Yeah, you're depositing what's in you to benefit, to give it to someone else.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what you said when we were talking on the phone over the weekend and prepping for this time together on the show today. One of the things you pointed out is a lot of people assume, well, I don't have a degree or a PhD in this or that field, or I don't have, and they start to list their don't haves, and they back away from what they could give. And you said a lot of people don't realize, oh no, there's a wealth of things in you. You don't have to have titles.
That's right.
You don't have to be an author. You don't have to have a PhD, this and that, to be able to mentor. And I was very encouraged by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me start to realize I need to think about what might I have to offer, And now you, before I forget, we want to know if someone's intrigued by what we're talking about today. Do you have a website, or is there a way that people can connect with you, contact you? Because we're going to be talking about, you have a heart for churches and creating mentoring programs in churches. So if there's a pastor or somebody on a staff listening, how do they reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, that's a great question. You can reach out to me. My email is kmulkeycoaching@gmail.com, and I would suggest that's a great way. Also, I'm on Instagram, Kenneth_Mulkey, and Facebook at Kenneth Mulkey. Pretty simple. Website's on the way. And so once that is done, then I'll maybe be able to share that through those venues. So yeah.
Now I want to start to jump into the book again, Helping Others Win: 10 Keys to Effective Mentoring. I really like your writing style because it's as if you're sitting there talking and sharing your thoughts. And so it's an easy read. Your other book was too, very, very comfortable to digest. But I find this book particularly thought-provoking. I don't know why. It's just really hitting me. And you have, I like your writing style because at the end of each chapter, you have questions for a person to really think about. What was it you were talking about, and how can they explore their own growth to look at possibly mentoring? So I really like that. And then we were saying that a mentor essentially is a person who is affirming. What does that look like when you're mentoring someone?
Mentors are mentors are cheerleaders.
Oh, I like that.
They get to cheer for you. And I've run in 3 half marathons, and every time there were people who were on my left side and my right side, and they were screaming and cheering and yelling, and they didn't even really know me. And that encouragement helped me to keep on running, even though I was tired, even though my legs were hurting. It just helped me to keep going. And a mentor is that individual cheerleader, affirmer, and encourager for you. What that looks like is oftentimes, picture this if you can. Picture a piece of paper that's white, completely white, and picture a little black dot in the left corner of the paper. And if you see the paper, your eye is drawn to that dot.
Yes, right away.
Not the totality of the paper.
That's so true.
And so when it comes to most of us, what we see is that thing that's wrong with us. And we don't see the other parts of us that are really good and that are great and that have potential. And a mentor is able to see those things and then say something about those things. And so if I were able to give a biblical example, when Jesus first met Simon Peter, he said, "You are Simon. This is who you are currently," which literally means a reed shaking in the wind, speaking to the instability of his character. He said, "But you shall be called in the future Cephas, or Peter. You'll be a stone. You'll be solid. You'll be stable." And I think a mentor has the ability to be able to see where people are, but also see where they could be and who they could be. And so that's what's so wonderful about mentoring.
Yeah. And you know, that's a very, that's what God does with us when we get saved. And I have a comment here that page 62 in your book really hit me, because you brought up and you mentioned Gideon. And I noticed something that I hadn't ever seen before. Gideon was really deeply discouraged. There was a lot of heavy-duty circumstances going on with Israel, a lot of serious stuff. And it says, I was intrigued with the way the angel of the Lord addressed Gideon, and it lines up with what the illustration you just gave with the piece of paper. And instead of honing in on that fault, speak to the potential, because that causes people to go, "Really? You see that in me?" And right away they're edified. And the angel of the Lord, he didn't say, I always thought he said to Gideon, "Hail, mighty man of valor." But he didn't say that. He said, "The Lord is with you, mighty man of valor."
Right.
That's a huge add-on.
Yeah.
And Gideon was encouraged by that right away and thought, who? Me? And as a mentor, you're speaking into the life of a person where they have this wake up of, "You see that in me? Really?"
Yeah.
And what a great quickening that is for somebody.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is so many people don't hear good things about themselves. And they teach you when it comes to even parenting and correcting as a teacher that you have to have at least, I think it's right, I think it's a 5-to-1 ratio, 5 positive things for every little correction that you have to offer. But what happens in life is we just get correction after correction after correction, whether somebody tells us, whether it's coming through social media, whether our peers are, saying certain things. And we get fed these different things that kind of like put us down, whether it's the image of someone's body, the clothes they wear, whatever. And you look at yourself like, that's not me. And so I must not be that, or I couldn't do that. And so you start to feel bad about yourself. And so we need to hear affirming things about us that are good, because if we're made in the image and likeness of God, and we are, then there's something good inside of everybody. And it's just a matter of drawing that out of them, because, you're a sports person.
Yeah.
You're a sports person. And so you, family, sports.
Oh, yeah.
Know? So, so baseball, pitchers don't get paid to hit. They get paid to pitch. And so So if they come up to bat and they strike out, nobody really cares because that's not what they're getting paid for. Yeah. So we want to do everything awesome and everything well. There are certain things that we're just wired for, God's wires for. And if that can be affirmed in us, then that will lead our lives instead of this negative picture and these negative comments that people have said, and this outlying look and mentality that we have that just pulls us down.
Yeah.
And we never get to ascend. But yet something inside of all of us wants to become more than what we currently are.
And so many people, they have that in them. They want to become more, and they don't know how. Maybe they're not naturally resourceful. Ideas don't come to them on, well, how could I find out about how this or that? So they need suggestions to stimulate that, or be downright taught. So without that encouragement from someone, that potential just kind of sits there dormant, waiting for something to happen to have the nudge.
So true.
I know I'm so grateful to Apostle Andrew Bills, who's the founder of HSBN, because it's a fluke how we met, talked on the phone first. He read my book, and we talked for several hours, and then he said, here's what I want you to do. And boom, just like that, over the phone. Yeah. And he said, people need to know what's in you and what's in the book. And part of me thought, I've always thought that. I have a lot I want to share, but I don't know how to get it out. And he said, I want you to come up with 8 30-minute messages, and we'll figure out how to video them or do something. HSBN didn't exist yet. And we'll take it from there. And I said, okay. And I got off the phone. I was terrified. I literally threw myself on my face on the living room floor and said, oh God, I have no idea how to do what this man just told me he wants. But I got a kick from God and the Holy Spirit of get up and do, get up and go, run with from this man who it never occurred to him that I couldn't do that. So he saw something in me that I didn't know how to give birth to necessarily. Mentors are huge.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Huge.
Very much so. I mean, if you think of the varied relationships from Old Testament to New Testament, the Joshua, the Moses, the Elijah, the Elisha, we're looking at a lot of one-on-one stuff. Ruth, Naomi, there's just a lot of one-on-one stuff. And so we, as much as we see it, we don't let it register how important that is for us. And we don't intentionally seek to have that. We just kind of like read by it and go, oh, I wish I had that. I wish I could have that. But you can. And it's not only that you can have it, you can be it. And so, and that's what my book is about, telling you you can be a mentor and that it's not something that's beyond you. And so if you can just get your hands on this book and read it and digest it, I believe it will empower you, to be what you feel you can be, and then also leave some footprints in the sands of time by touching other people's lives who are looking for you, but they don't see you yet.
Yeah. I just think that is so true. And this book, I find it extremely thought-provoking. And there are parts in there where as you confront, think about, and you ask the different intriguing questions you do, there were some of the questions in here on how to assess yourself to find out if you have mentor stuff in you, where I looked at the questions and I just went blank. And I thought, I'm this age, which I'll never admit to on camera, and I don't even know how to answer that question about myself. I've never thought about that. So your questions are stimulating. And as I was reading this, I thought, well, I want to get through the book in preparation for the show. But I've got all kinds of marks in here where I want to go back and have quiet time with me and myself and me and God. and really let these questions be a jumping off place for digging and personal growth. And I really, really want you all to get this book. Now, how do they get it?
Well, you can go on Amazon and you can purchase it from Amazon, or you can go on to Zulon Press. Now, I have good news for those of you who are pastors, or you have a nonprofit, or even for your organization or company, if you would like several of them. My publisher, if you buy in bulk, they will give you a 30% discount.
Oh, wow.
And so if you go to Zulon Press, if you reach out to me and contact me, I'll give you the exact name of the person who you need to connect with to get that discount. And so I was just in a leadership university last week teaching, and they order some for their students, and they're getting that discount. So
nice.
Would love to see churches and organizations get that discount too.
And this could be used for group study?
Oh yeah, small group study. The questions help facilitate that. It's really, it can be used on so many different levels, for leadership, training, for small group discipleship kinds of study, and it can be used just as a personal resource for you to be empowered, equipped and empowered to help somebody else, which is the best thing ever.
And, you know, I think a lot of people, Pastor Ken, I know I went through this for a while, a decade and a half, 2 decades ago. You get to the point where you reach certain candles on the birthday cake and you're telling yourself, well, I'm too old, I'm too, or I don't have enough education, or I don't have, all those I don't have, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. Those labels that may be out there, they're required for this or that position on a job or whatever. That's not true for the mentoring thing. And when we were talking about that on the phone, you even pointed out to me about the Scare Straight program, which I never would have defined that as a mentoring program. What did you have to say about that?
Well, you know, sometimes, again, to answer your question, Jackie, in our conversation, so many people dismiss themselves from being able to mentor or seeing themselves as a mentor. And the honest truth is, if you ever heard of the Scare Straight program, what that is that there are inmates who are locked up for life, and they have different DARE programs and different programs within different cities and counties that will bring youth into the prison system, and they will let those who are incarcerated for life speak to them, and what they're telling them is basically live right, do the right thing, don't mess up, stay out of jail. And in essence, they're really mentoring these young people, and it's called Scared Straight because they're so afraid, you know, when they see some of the people who've been in for so long and what prison has done to them. But just not only that, just the fact that you don't have the freedom that you would love to have. And if a person who has a life sentence can speak something positive and life-giving to young people, I'm very, very certain that you could as well. And and I just say something?
Jump in.
You said something, and you got my fire burning here a little bit, because what Jackie was talking about, when we get a few more birthdays, you know, under our belt, we start to sit ourselves on the bench, and that's not what God has said. And so I want to encourage you, please don't do that to yourself. And the reason is because the older you get, the more you have. So the younger people, God bless younger people. I love young people. I do a lot with young people, but I also understand that those who are older have more to give, more life experiences, more things they've gone through, more ups and downs. They know the way through the valley. They know how to get back up to the hill, and just all kinds of things. And I just think that you do yourself a disservice, and if I might be so bold to say, you do others who you're supposed to mentor a disservice by seeing yourself in that light. You are the wealthiest you've ever been right now, whether you're 50, 60, 70, or 80. So there's this church. You ever heard of Andy Stanley?
No, I have not.
Have you heard of Charles Stanley?
Oh, yes.
So Andy is Charles's son.
Okay.
And Pastor Charles Stanley has a huge church in Atlanta. His son's church is bigger than his.
Wow.
And he says one of his mentors is an 83-year-old man.
Wow.
No title, not on staff. He sits in his church, but he's the one who's his mentor.
Wow.
And it's just, you think that, you have to have all these degrees and accolades and all this perfection going on. That's just not the case. It's just, you just have to believe that there is more in you than meets the eye, and that God wants to use you in very, very profound ways. Do it. Here's a challenge. Just take it at face value. Do a search on people who succeeded post 50 years old.
Oh, wow.
Just if you're bored and you don't have anything else to do, just check it out.
I like that.
I've been eating Colonel Sanders chicken all my life, but I didn't know the man got started at 66.
Isn't that something?
And so because the dreams, the things that are inside of you have been marinating.
Yes.
Over time and through trial and tears and tribulation and everything else, and they're just so rich. Yeah. And so finally you get this idea of courage now. Yes, I can do this to share, to do it. It's like, what, I'm willing to take a chance, I'm willing to take a risk and just do this. And mentoring is just one of those simple things that you can do, like pretty much right now.
Wonderful.
And just do it.
Well, that's the challenge for the moment. Those of you who have those extra candles on your birthday cake, as we do, we are suddenly playing Beat the Clock. But you're going to be able to be here for a second session, part 2, yes. Okay. And so stay tuned to watch for the second part of this sharing time about mentoring. I'm so excited you've been with us today. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Ken.
Thank you.
I'm Jackie Priestley. You've been watching Let's Talk About It, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.